Power to the people. I want to speak tonight about a simple subject. I'm going to entitle this video, Wake Up and Register to Vote. I don't try to hurt anyone's feelings, but I think it's important to me to be truthful. You know, the way I see it, the way I want it in life. I am a radical. Not necessarily an extremist, but we are in an extreme situation. I'm here in California, in the United States of America. A radical is someone who goes into the roots of matters, you know, who understands the power dynamics going on in a situation, who understands the core issues involved. I'm a citizen of the cosmos, a citizen of the globe, a global citizen, and a citizen of the United States. To flash back a bit on Occupy Wall Street, my criticism of the whole period was that it failed to really get involved in electoral politics. And this was kind of revolutionary. You know, not necessarily reactionary, but it didn't really promote the kind of long-term revolutionary process that we need. It got people turned off to politics in general, to politicians. It failed to provide any open, above ground vanguard leadership that was sustainable. You know, people involved should have realized that the potential that it was going to be attacked by the Obama regime, should have made plans for shifting into at least a local commune situation, so that all those who were involved in Occupy throughout the country and in other countries, but here in the USA, should have been able to still keep their Occupy going. You know, even though they wouldn't be, like, say, at a you know, by Wall Street or in a park or wherever it was, still having an active Occupy location, or at least people that people can contact, you know, at least a website. So we see this pretty much dwindled out, faded out. You know, there are some still accessible, at least through the internet. So we need to look at that. You know, look at the Tea Party, how they were able to get a lot of people into Congress because of their active participation in electoral politics. So, as usual, the left lost. the so-called left failed to take advantage of the countrywide situation, failed to seize the time and use Occupy Wall Street as a springboard for getting involved in electoral politics like the Tea Party did. And we got to be open-minded. We got to learn from our so-called friends and our so-called enemies. Learn tactics. As far as I'm concerned, our long-range general strategy aims at the seizure of power. We want power for the people. So, in unity with that, we need to be involved and participate in all processes that are going to help to forward that general grand strategic aim, the seizure of power. I got to confess here, I voted for Obama the first time. When I saw, McCain, and Obama has turned out to be a great disappointment. He's turned out to be worse than Bush Jr. And he has now exposed himself as an actual fascist corporate president. Yet you got to give him credit. Obama's sharp. His handlers are sharp. He was able to kind of connive, masses of American people, kind of connive liberals, and kind of connive many progressives. The first time when he was elected, I figured that, because I knew he supported capitalism, I figured that, well, hopefully we'll get him into the White House, and then if that didn't work out for the people, for the legitimate interests of the people, then we'll just struggle against him at that point. I did not want to see McCain become president, and I was surprised when Obama became president. So remember, presidential elections every 4 years. See, I remember when I voted for Ralph Nader for president, because I was sure that he would win over Bush Jr. the first time. And I figured Al Gore would win in 2000. So we see that Al Gore lost. I voted for Nader. Life goes on. Shit happens. Yet there are lessons to be learned there. There are lessons to be learned from Obama's first presidential run. The second presidential run of Obama, I had enough common sense to vote for Jill Stein with the Green Party. At this point, I plan to vote for Jill Stein again. believing she'll run, in 2016. Now that might seem like a long time from now, but if progressive people and progressive parties and progressive organizations wake up now and have a vision for the future, think of 2016, then we could have a strong effect on the presidential elections in 2016. At the same time, we need to look on the local state level, on the local city county level, and do what we can to create change in who we have in offices on the local and the state level. The ideal here is to not necessarily to win. The ideal here is to use political campaigns as platforms for educating the people, for raising mass consciousness, for speaking out about the many issues that concern us as human beings. We're talking about a whole range of issues. And I try to remind people of the 5 basic needs: food, clothing, shelter, medical care, quality education. Yet there are many other issues that we're interested in, and see, candidates who run for public office can speak to those issues in the process of that campaign. We got to relate to the level of consciousness of the American people. That mass consciousness. It gets complex. I love Chris Hedges. He's a genius to me in his own way. And I think that the key here is going to be consciousness. In terms of consciousness is the battleground. Consciousness is the playing field. If we're thinking in terms of military logistics, we want to promote mutiny in the U.S. Armed Forces. If they are told to go out and fight an unjust war, if they are told to attack the American people, and we have to understand that now. The ideal of militarily to combat the U.S. Armed Forces, for the poor people to do that is insane. It's thinkable, but it's insane. We can cause a lot of havoc, yet we're not prepared for that. And once again, the ideal here is to exhaust all legal, peaceful methods of resistance. But to resist fascism, to understand fascism, and for fools to say Now we shouldn't get involved in politics because that's all corrupt, it's all screwed up, so just the hell with it. Okay, those who are saying that, well, then what the hell are you doing? Are you helping out in your local food bank? Are you volunteering in a local literacy campaign? You know, if you're not going to be involved in electoral politics, you should be doing something practical and realistic to help the people. You know, not just always be anti this or anti that or anti this. You know, why don't you be proactive? You know, pro-progressive issues, pro-progressive agenda, pro-progressive parties, and the key here is to be progressive. Okay, I consider myself a radical. Others may range from being a liberal to being more liberal to being radical. You know, and to not let people label you as just extremists. Because remember, the power of the word and how the fascist regime knows how to use it against us is something that progressive forces have not quite mastered. You know, words are important. You know, our definitions for words need to be explained and understood to people so that there's greater unity. So we need to, at least at a minimum, as a U.S. citizen, knowing there are many other issues that we're concerned about, at least be registered to vote. If you're eligible. If you're not registered to vote, then you're in sad shape. Keep that in mind and, you know, wake up, register to vote, and don't forget to vote on election day. Thank you. Power to the people.